What's up, Legionnaires? It's Gnome. It's time for a patch update for World of Tanks. 9.8 is out this week. We're going to be taking this time to go over and check out everything in the patch. Alright, we'll step through just one by one. Some of the more detailed stuff I will cover in another video, but I'll mention that as we go. Alright, let's step into featured. We've got Domination, a new game mode. Domination is, if I recall correctly, it's tier 10 only. They provide the tanks for you if you don't have them in your garage. And it's a respawn system. Should be really interesting. I will make a video of that when I have more experience. I don't want to do anything right now just off of just information that they give. I really want to get a first-hand account onto what you guys could expect, what I think about it, a number of things. So I'll cover that in another video. So I'll just touch on it here. Personalized discounts when purchasing a premium account. Thank you, Firefox, for letting me know that I don't care about your update. Sorry guys, I got a little bit of phlegm in my throat. Personalized discounts when purchasing premium account. I'm assuming that what that has to do with is that if you are someone who purchases your premium account by year, your discount for purchasing more premium accounts will actually be increased, rather than those people who maybe get just like Weekend Warrior bundles, for example, may not see much at all. So that's a good way for Wargaming to encourage gamers to buy premium accounts, and it's a good way for them to increase their income that way. I don't have a problem with this at all, because people who are buying premium accounts are going to do it anyways, and this will get more people to spend money on the game, which is good for everybody, because it means that the company will have money to do more interesting things. Alright, Battle Performance Badges. These are the little ribbons that have been showing up at the top of your screen in the last couple days. To be perfectly honest, I think that the Destruction banner and the Damage banner are useless, and they should go away. But I really like the spotting ones, because before it was really hard to tell whether you've actually spotted someone or not. To make sure that you are the person who spotted, especially if there's a handful of scouts that are running forwards and you're not sure whether you actually got it or somebody else got it. It's also a good way to track whether or not you are actually getting spotting damage. That would be really handy. I would actually appreciate, well, they actually have that. They have assisted damage, which I also really like. So I think that the assisted damage and the spotting damage are things that you can't tell in-game already, and I really like those. But some of the other ones, just as if you did damage, or if you destroyed a vehicle, you already know that. That already shows up in-game. I don't think those were really necessary, but some of them are really, really handy to have. So basically the end result is, I would say, leave the badges in the battle interface. Don't disable them, because those couple of times when you need assistance damage or spotting, for example, scouts, really, really handy to have. I think also medium tanks have a couple of assistance damage, I think. Alright, anyway. Change for balance for formulated conditions for 36 personal missions. This I'll cover in another video. This is big. One of the biggest changes that they did is they removed the platoon requirements for all of the missions, which means that those the platoon requirements are now an either or, so they're harder to do. For example, one of the artillery missions that I know of is do 2,000 damage either by yourself or in a platoon, which is awesome. That means that if you're solo, if you don't play with platoons, or maybe you've got tanks, or that your friends don't, or who knows what, right? There's a lot of different situations that could come in. You don't have to be in a platoon to work your way up through the missions. Now, what it does mean is that some of the higher tier ones, for example, the ones after the T55A or the Object 260, both of those tier missions will probably still require platoons, but they will be possible at least to do solo. It'll just require a really, really, really amazing game. But you can still do them, and that's the important part. The other one, too, is some of the requirements have changed. Like I said, Ghost, which used to be a pain in the ass for everybody. The requirements, I think, for the Stug 4, the tier 1, is like 500 damage, which is nothing for spotting. So it's a lot. Just they've got a lot, significantly better. And again, I'll touch on these more in a different video once I can actually get out the actual differences between the two versions, because I'm not 100% certain on all the missions on how that's changed. So when I get that, I'll put a video out. You guys can look at the differences. Added the ability to switch between SD and HD versions of the game client. This is awesome. I've been talking with guys throughout the game, and they're saying that by going to an SD versions, they're seeing frame increases of 30 to 50 frames per second on the SD version. This is awesome. This is exactly what we've wanted to see, because it means that those people who are running on computers that can't run maximum graphics can run on SD, and they're seeing much, much better frame rates. This is perfect. This is what we want to see. This is going to increase the availability of the game to more players. More players means more people on the server. More people on the server means a better distribution of players, and a better distribution means that everyone has more fun. This is excellent. This is great news. All right, added a restriction on creation of battles for strongholds during certain time periods. This is basically a fix for clans that were abusing the defense timing system for strongholds. So the way that works for those people who aren't doing strongholds is that once you hit tier 5 on your stronghold, you can now be attacked by other clans. Now, in order to prevent people from just attacking willy-nilly, you would set yourself up to defend on certain times. And what was common is that smaller clans, or clans that didn't want to be attacked, were setting up their defense time to be between 4 and 6 in the morning on whatever time zone they wanted to. Now, there's two problems with this. The first is that usually the game will go down for about 30 minutes to an hour during this time period for maintenance. That happens fairly frequently. That's just part of server maintenance. You always want to go, you always want to take the server down and do maintenance for 10 to 15 minutes, maybe more, during the lowest period at which people would be online. So you disrupt as few people as possible. By setting your defense time during the same period, not only is the possible times in which you can be attacked is reduced, there's also the smallest number of people that can be on at any one time, which means that you're likely not to get attacked. So it's a way to abuse the system. So they have put the restriction on that so that people can't abuse the system as much. For those people for those clans who everyone works graveyards, it kind of sucks, but I'm sorry, you guys are really in the minority here, and frankly, that's why we can't have nice things, is because people are afraid of defending, and they abuse the system. Added personal reserves. I admit I still haven't quite figured out how personal reserves work. It says you can earn personal reserves by completing certain missions. I'm assuming that the way that personal reserves are going to work is that some of these missions that you get either through either the month-long or the weekend missions will, instead of giving you a straight bonus, they'll give you personal reserves that you can then activate later. I actually like this system. It means that people who play a lot during the week, for example, can maybe hop on during the weekend, play a couple of games, get their personal reserve achieved, and then wait to when they play normally during the week rather than during the weekend, and really make that count. I think this is a nice change. I really, really like it. These reserves are very similar to stronghold reserves. So this is also a way for those who don't have clans, or whose clans maybe don't do strongholds, or don't have the personnel to do strongholds, especially smaller clans of like 5 or less, to not have to have the same access that strongholds clans do with their reserves. So I like this change. All right, moving into maps. Here we go. Fixed various issues and improved gameplay on the following maps: Siegfried Line, Karelia, Sand River Airfield, Westfield, and Mirovanka. All right, so Siegfried Line, this has changed a little bit. The hills are more rolly. They're not as steep. There's also a lot more bunkers, and the bunkers are larger. This makes it easier on an assault map for the attacker to be able to move into the town. I don't know if it's balanced the map quite yet. Unfortunately, part of the problem with Siegfried Line on assault is that there's just so much cover in the town that artillery doesn't really have a good way to get shots into the town. So we'll see if this changes much. I'm not sure if it's going to actually change the way the game plays. We'll see. But Siegfried Line was changed. Karelia was changed. I can't remember exactly how Karelia has changed. It's been minor. A lot of these are minor. Sand River got a big change. The ravine with the water is now basically gone, and there's a bunch of paths all over the place. Airfield got minorly adjusted with the way the slopes work. And then Westfield and Moravanka, I haven't actually played over the last couple of days, so I can't tell you exactly how those have changed. But the basic result is that I think Moravanka. I've forgotten about Karelia. Karelia is, well, basically they've all been changed. There's a lot of other areas that have been added in. I really appreciate the way that they're doing some of these maps. I think the changes are good. What they're basically doing through all of these maps is they're trying to remove this idea of 2 or 3 attack lines only, and open up the map more for a lot of other play. What this is doing is this isn't necessarily strengthening tank destroyers or heavy tanks. This is actually strengthening light tanks and medium tanks. Heavy tanks and tank destroyers are still going to follow those same 2 or 3 attack lines, but this allows the medium tanks and the light tanks to actually get in and play a disrupting role, which is good. This is what we want. We want a little more chaos and a little less linear battle. This will make the heavy tanks have to play smarter. It does reduce their ability to control the pace of the battle a little bit, but with good medium tanks on both sides, what we should see is a medium tank brawl and a heavy tank kind of push. I think that this is a good change. I think it's really going to break up some of the static camping that you see on a lot of these battles. I think it's good. All right, removed Comarin from the random battle mode. This is, I believe, the map formerly known as Swamp. It's a piece of shit. I'm glad it's gone. Yeah, good riddance. Reduce the battle level of Hidden Village. Hidden Village used to see tier 10. It doesn't anymore. This is also a good change, primarily because Hidden Village really only has one attack path for most tanks, and that's up around the north, around in the hills there. This is primarily because the south attack just isn't strong enough for the south spawn, so there's no point in going that way. By reducing the battle level, this is kind of going to open it up a little bit. I think this is a good goal. All right, added a new map for Domination. Domination has its own map that you don't see anywhere else. That's fine. Improved effects of the following maps: Lakeville, Erlenberg, Siegfried Line. These are subtle things. I wouldn't worry about this. One of the big ones, I should mention on Siegfried Line 2, and this is probably part of the effects, is that the lakes you now can actually get out of. I don't know if how many of you guys have drowned accidentally or on purpose. If you have, you dirty artillery players, how dare you? But if you've drowned in those lakes, now you can actually get out of them, so you're not stuck at the bottom once you get there. All right, rework destruction effects for some environmental objects. I think this is because some of the vehicles and barrels were exploding a little too much, so they've kind of narrowed that down a little bit, so they're not so massive. Fixed bases and attack defense on Himmelsdorf. This isn't bad. This will change slightly, but it's very, very subtle. Basically, these are minor adjustments. Deleted resources of the Northwest map from the game client. So this is just a memory change, but basically Northwest had too many resources. I think it had, when it got reworked, the original map didn't get deleted, even though it wasn't in the rotation. So that's just something that doesn't need to be there. So they've removed it. All right, vehicles. Excuse me. All right, vehicles. The new Tier 8 Premium Medium Tank for the Russian line is now in the in-game store. As we know, anytime Wargaming adds a new premium tank, they always hit the shop first, and then they hit the in-game store. This is so that if people want it early, they have to actually spend money, and they can't just spend their Clan Wars gold on it. This is just a money-making scheme for them. For Wargaming, I don't have a problem with this. All right, reworked the following vehicles in HD quality: Wolverine, Type T-34, Leopard 1, Hummel, Jumbo, Patton, Type 58, Su-85, Cromwell, Super Pershing, T-32, Pershing, IS-3, and AMX-50-120. That's cool. HD, always nice. If you're running maximum graphics, if you're running the SD client, you're not going to give a shit, which is also fine. All right. Set the shell flight range at 400 meters for low caliber autocannons and machine guns. This is actually a buff for low caliber autocannons and machine guns. I believe the previous flight range was set at something like 330 or 350. So you couldn't always actually shoot what you could see. But now you can. Hopefully. So it's 400 meters. So after the shell travels 400 meters, it'll disappear. But at least you can shoot a little bit further now, which is good. All right. Improved the characteristics of the following vehicles, which we will cover below. And it says improved, but some of these got nerfed. Oh, no, it does say decreased characteristics. So, yeah. So these are all buffs and then a couple of nerfs, which is fine. Buffs, A20, BT7, KV13, IS8, and IS7. I don't know why the IS7 needed a buff, but apparently it did. Durchbruchwagen 2, Panzerkampfwagen 1. Honestly, I don't remember the Panzers. I think it's Souffle. I don't know. My German is really bad, I'm sorry. But this is the Toaster, the Nashorn, the Sturm Emil, the VK3002D, which I really like. This is a tank that I hate because I'm bad at it and it just does not have a good gun for tier 7. Churchill gun carriage. Vickers medium Mark III, that's a tier 3. Vickers medium Mark II is a tier 2. M2 medium tank is a tier 3. T28 prototype, which is good. T30, which really didn't need a buff, but okay, I guess it needs a buff. D1, B1, which is still going to make the B1 shitty, but that's okay. ARL V39, still a piece of shit. And AMX 1375. Finally, decrease some characteristics of the following vehicles. Conqueror gun carriage. Do I need to say any more about why this thing needs nerfed? It's a tier 10 satellite artillery. It definitely needs nerfed. And AT7, which is a really good tank, got slightly nerfed. And thumbnail for the T95 tank story, fine, whatever. All right, we have pictures. Picture. This is how pretty all the tanks are. I don't really care. All right, now into the nitty gritty. Changes to vehicle characteristics. First up, France. As soon as I grab a drink of water. All right, the ARL V39. So what we have here is in-motion dispersion decreased, hull traverse dispersion decreased, aim time on the 90 mil, which is good, decreased from 2.9 to 2.6. This is actually that 0.3 seconds is going to be significant for this tank. The 90 mil 45 is the top gun. It's the 212 240. It's really nice. So that'll be good. Dispersion on gun traverse on the 105. That's the 180 or 190 300. I can't remember the penetration. It's a 300 average. Decrease of 12%. So this is actually it feels like it's minor, but basically what it means is that you're going to stay aimed longer, and you will aim faster, at least on the 90. And when you're moving around, your gun won't bloom as much, which is good because you used to bloom quite a bit. All right, nice slight buff on the ARL V39. AMX 1375. So crossing capacity for solid and medium terrain increased for both suspensions. Hull traverse dispersion or in-motion dispersion decreased. And turret traverse decreased. So this means that in motion, the AMX 1375 is going to be both faster and more accurate, which is a really nice change. It's going to make the 1375 a much nicer tank to play and grind through to the 1390, which is good. I think the tank needed it. I felt like the tank was a little inaccurate on the move, so this will be a nice change. All right, D1. It's basically faster, which is nice since early tier French tanks are slow as shit. So this will make the D1 slightly faster. Dispersion is slightly decreased. It's tier 3. It doesn't matter. Actually, the D1 might even be tier 2. I can't remember. It's been a long time since I've played that tank. And finally, the B1. Dispersion decreased, and durability. So it got a 10 hit point boost on its suspension. This is suspension, not total hit points. What this simply means is that it won't get tracked as often, but I never felt that to be a problem with the B1. I never really felt. I think it just died. I don't think everyone, because of that, at that tier, people don't feel like tracking. Anyway, it did get a slight boost, so it will get tracked less frequently, and it will be slightly more accurate on the move and in motion, which is it's a nice buff. It's not. I don't think it's going to change much. The B1 is still a piece of shit, but either way, we're still going. All right, moving on. Germany, the toaster. In motion dispersion decreased by 7%. Hull traverse dispersion decreased by 7% or 8%. And aim time for this is the long 88, 2.3 to 2.1 seconds. That's really nice. So, nice little buff for the toaster. Durchbruchwagen 2. Durchbruch. See, my German is so bad, I don't know Durchbruchwagen. I don't know. I'm probably saying that all wrong. I'm sorry. All right. In motion dispersion of the DW suspension decrease. That's a massive decrease for dispersion for both of those suspensions, or for that suspension. Dispersion decreased. Got an extra 10 hit points on the stock turret and an extra 20 hit points on the up turret. That's going to be a nice change. The DW2 is a little weak, considering it's supposed to be like a heavy tank. I think it is a heavy tank. So that'll be nice. Aim time reduced for 2 guns on both turrets. So nice change. I think this will help be a little more competitive. I think most players won't notice it because the crews, the crew, most people are running probably a 60 to 80% crew on this thing when they're grinding through it. So I don't know if those changes will be noticed much. But they're still nice changes, and it will help the tank be a little more competitive, which is good. Panzerkampfwagen 1, dispersion decreased. It's tier 2. It's not going to matter that much. Nashorn, more suspension decreasing. This is just, so a lot of these changes are dispersion decrease. So this just means that as you move your bloom, how big your aiming reticle gets is going to not get as big, which is nice. This 20% dispersion on gun traverse of the 88 Pack 43 is massive. This means that if you've got your Nashorn, if you keep your hull locked, you're going to be able to move your gun around considerably faster. And the bloom from just moving the gun is going to be considerably lessened. So this is actually a massive buff for a Nashorn who is locked in a single position. All right, Stetter Mill. Traverse speed increased to 32. It's a nice little buff here that'll keep it a little more nimble. Not a ton. Thing's still slow as shit, but it'll be a little bit better. Crossing capacity makes it a little bit faster, which is good on all terrain, which is very, very nice. 36, which is actually getting up there. Again, another crossing capacity, which is going to make it a little bit faster. Reload time on the 105, which is nice. That goes to 0.2 seconds, so that'll be a nice little buff. Traverse speed of the turret. That doesn't make any sense. The PZSFL5 doesn't have a turret. I think what they're talking about is the gun movement. I think the gun will move a little bit faster. So it'll be able to make a little bit better snapshots. But I don't actually know what they mean by turret. This is weird. Because unless I'm crazy, I'm pretty sure that the Studer Mill doesn't have a turret. Because it's a fixed forward tank destroyer. I'm very interested to see what the hell they're talking about here, because I don't know. That's really weird. Okay, well, I could spend a lot of time thinking about this, but I'm going to move on and just go, what the fuck, Wargaming? What the fuck? All right, moving on. The 3002D. Dispersion decreased for suspensions and for guns. I like this. This is really nice. This means that the tank will be more accurate on the move, which I like. And look at this. Oh my god. Traverse speed of the Schmallenum turret increased from 24 to 30. 24 to 30. I love this change. What this means is the VK32D is going to be far more nimble. And none of them are more nimble, but it'll be able to circle better, and it'll be able to really play more like a medium, which is awesome. It's going to make up for the fact that its gun is basically trash. So this is a lot better of a change. I love this change. I think that it might make it. I don't think it's going to make it competitive. Although it is tier 7. But it'll be a big change. So I like this change. All right, let's look at the nerf on the Conqueror GC. Aim time increased by 0.3 seconds. That's pretty significant. Dispersion increased to 0.12. This tank right now is just a giant nuke from the sky, and it's still going to be a giant nuke from the sky. But having a little bit longer aim time and a little bit larger dispersion means that the tank is not going to. It's going to have a slightly lessened effect at tier 10, which is good. That's what we want to see. We don't want it to be nerfed into the ground, but we do want to see its impact reduced slightly, which I think this definitely does. So the Conqueror GC will not be as accurate, and it will take longer to aim, so its impact will be lessened slightly. By how much, I don't know, but it will be lessened slightly. All right, 87. 87 used to be really, really good. Aim time increased slightly, and reload increased by 0.4 seconds. So this is going to decrease the DPM of the AT7, which already had a really good DPM. Yeah, this is slight nerfs to the AT7. I like this change. AT7 was a little too good for its tier. Tier 7 shouldn't be amazing, so I think this is a good change. Churchill gun carrier, the tank everyone hates. Traverse speed, so better rotation on both suspensions. Aim time reduced. Yeah, it says turret. Weird. Anyway, Churchill gun carrier, fixed forward gun. Yeah, I don't have a problem with this. This is a massive decrease in aim time for this 32 pounder. Massive increase in aim time, or decrease in aim time. This might actually make the Churchill gun carriage a viable alternative to going up through the AT8 into the AT7 because of the aim time change. I think the tank might actually be something that you could go through now. Something to consider. All right, the Vickers Medium Mark III. It's a little bit faster. This is more dispersion. Yeah, okay. Vickers Mark II, more dispersion. USA, T28 prototype. Aim time decreased slightly. Dispersion more accurate. Nice for the T28 prototype. Very, very minor buff. I think they're trying to get the balance just about right for the T28. Otherwise, a little bit faster for the M2 on all suspensions, which is fine. I don't know if the M2 really needed it, but that's okay. T30 is been made more accurate. 3.9 to 3.7 is actually significant. I know it doesn't seem like it, but it certainly is. That extra 0.02 meters, which seems like not very much, means you'll be able to put your shells in. Sometimes you do bounce on a with T30 gun. You'd think you wouldn't, but you do. So you're really going to want to be able to put that bullet where you want it. So a little bit buff to the T30. A little bit more accurate. Dispersion on hull traverse. Since it is a turret, this is actually pretty important. Yeah, this is fine. I don't have a problem with this. All right, IS-8. Dispersion reduced. Aim time reduced. IS-8 did need a slight buff. So its gun now should be slightly more accurate. Or not more accurate, but faster firing. Because the aim time is reduced by just a little bit. Also, the dispersion reduced. Slight buff to the IS-8. Not a big deal. KV-13. Dispersion and crossing capacity on both suspensions. Reload time decreased slightly for the 85 millimeter. Turret traverse decreased. So these are basically going to make the KV-13 a little more viable as a fast medium tank. This kind of brings it. This is kind of the same thing they're doing with that VKD that we looked at earlier. I think this is fine. They're really trying to make medium tanks more medium-y. More get out there, get circling, stay in motion. Don't try to play like a heavy tank, that kind of thing. So I like the change. IS-7, in motion dispersion decreased by 10. Aim time reduced. There's a really, really small buff here. It's going to make the IS-7 more accurate on the move. Slightly. And aim time, it'll be a little bit able to fire a little bit faster. We'll see. IS-7s are still really, really good. So I don't know if this is going to change much on how much people play the IS-7. My suspicion is that this will only affect clan wars and not random battles. So clan wars, obviously clan wars and strongholds, I think you'll see this. The IS-7 is really popular there. So this will increase the number of IS-7s I think that we'll see, but we already see a lot of those. All right, the A20. This is just dispersion, and the BT7 dispersion. I think both of those are fine changes. That'll just make them more accurate on the move, which is fine. All right, now we move into other before we finish up. Notifications about upcoming modules that will be unlocked for research and purchase for a player's vehicle. I think this is too much information and doesn't need to happen. If you can't follow what the hell you're doing with your vehicle, then maybe you should look at your research tab more often. So, I think this is a waste of time. Rework tips on the battle loading screens. I've seen these. They flash far too quickly to be able to read them. Far too quickly to be able to read them. Although I did notice that apparently it's against the game rules to be rude. So fuck those guys. Rework the interface for invitations to tactical units. So this is really nice. Also, I think I skipped it up earlier. You can now make what are called dynamic platoons, which means you can create a platoon in a battle at the beginning with your teammates in battle. I think that's really, really awesome. Basically, every battle I was in had a new platoon in it made in that battle. So people are definitely using it. I think it's a great thing. Expanded list of names for female crew members of all nations. This is simply to reduce the possibility that you get a crew member that has the exact same name as a previous one, which would really suck because female crew members are really rare because you only get a handful of them. All right, added the coat of arms of Omsk to vehicle emblems. That's cool. Added fixed calculation display of experience required to increase skill value in personal file of crew members. Apparently that was wrong. Now it's right. Fixed many issues with the new features of the team battle mode. This is bug fixing. Team battle has issues. That's fine. Gameplay interface issue with Stronghold. Again, bug fixing. Garage interface for personal missions. This is a little bit better. It's still rough, but it is a little better. Automatic starting of the next personal mission when the current one is completed. This is really, really nice. I can't tell you how many times I've done it, how many people I've spoken to who have done it, where they finished a personal mission and they forgot to do the next one, but they knew what it was and they did it the next battle, but because it wasn't activated, they didn't get it. And then they were sad and frustrated and raging. All right, fixed twitching of the aiming circle in artillery mode. This happens sometimes. As it's fine. Bold font and battle chat on some PC configurations. I never had a problem with this. Minor issues with the interface. It's hard to pick. That's the design standpoint. Flickering of vehicle track marks in some cases. Again, I've never seen this, but I also don't pay attention to track marks that closely. And finally, gameplay and interface issues and strongholds. So some minor bug fixes here in the end. Some really cool stuff. Basically, I really like the patch for the most part. I think some of the things that they've added were mostly useless. But all in all, a nice patch. Nothing to really get too upset about. I think the buffs and the nerfs are very, very minor. I like that. I would much prefer that other than some of these major, major nerfs that we've seen coming down the pipeline. Like, we still haven't seen the, what I'm probably going to dub the Great Penetration nerf of 2015. Where we're going to see medium tank penetrations go way, way down. Well, it's not way, way down, but it is a slight nerf, which will buff armor indirectly. But that hasn't happened yet, so they're probably waiting for 9.9 or 9.10 for that to happen. All right, well, that's patch 9.8 in a nutshell. Like I said, I'll release a couple other videos talking about personal missions and domination when I get them done. But for the most part, I'm going to send this out right here as soon as I get it compiled, and we'll be good to go. All right, guys, take care, and I'll see you on the battlefield.